Hey there, welcome to another episode of New Life by Noah. I'm Noah, and I take old unwanted furniture, give it new life, and flip it for a profit. Last week I took this $60 Lane chest that I found online and transformed it into this $400 beautiful piece. And today we're back at it. Let's head to the thrift store and see if we can find something to flip. Today we're at the Habitat for Humanity Restore in Chicago. Let's head inside and see what they got. Unfortunately, the prices were pretty bad today. Check out this $850 bedroom set. That's definitely overpriced for a thrift store. All right, so we struck out at the thrift store, but I've been doing some browsing online, and I found this really nice coffee table for only $28, so I'm gonna go check it out. I'll be right back. All right, I just got back with the table, just taking a closer look at the damage here. The top is very beat up, but that'll just help make for a better transformation. I was hoping for the wood grain on the top to be real wood, but it appears to be plastic laminate, so we'll just sand it down and freshen it up. The base is also very beat up, so we'll just sand that down as well and give it a fresh new color. Let's get started. This is what we're looking at for the table. You can see tons of damage here, so some sanding will help smooth that all out. Sanding is one of the most tedious and time-consuming parts of a flip, but it's crucial for getting a smooth, professional-looking finish. When you're sanding, make sure to keep your sander constantly moving so that you don't sand too much in one spot. I start with a 120 grit sandpaper to help remove the scratches, then I move to a 220 grit to smooth everything out. This table had a plastic laminate top, but if your piece is real wood, be extra careful when you're sanding. For the base and the legs, I'm going to be using my mouse sander, just a much smaller sander, and it's much better for the more delicate parts. Here, the detail, my circular sander will tear this up. So the mouse sander, and I have a sponge pad on it, and it lets you get in these creases much better. With my smaller sander, I also use a 120 grit to smooth out all the scratches, and then I work my way up to a 220 grit to get a smooth finish. And since we're painting, there's no need to remove the entire old finish, just scuff it up enough so that the paint can stick. The sanding sponge works especially well on the top edges of tables. You could see it contouring perfectly to fit the curves. After everything's all done being sanded, let's give the table a good wipe down to get off all the dust. Make sure your wipe down is relatively thorough because any leftover dust will help prevent the paint from sticking. All right, everything is completely sanded and wiped down. So now while we let the table dry off, let's start cleaning up that decorative handle. It's pretty dirty, but I think we can get it looking much better. First, I boil the handle in a mixture of baking soda and water for about 15 minutes to get off most of the grime. Then I scrub it with some waterproof sandpaper and Barkeeper's Friend. And this is how it turned out. It looks much better. The next step is to prep for painting. I always use a painting tent to prevent overspray from getting everywhere. This is our final look at the table before the new paint. Our next step is to paint, and we're going to start with a coat of primer, and the primer really helps your base coat stick a whole lot better. So let's go mix up the paint. Do not skip the primer. Think of primer like glue, so it really helps your paint stick to the surface that you're trying to paint. And by making the surface one uniform color, your base coat will look much better. It's super satisfying watching these spots disappear behind the paint. All right, now our bonding primer is fully dry, and this is where we're at. And so the plan here, I want to tape off the top here because I want the top to be a cream color, and then I want the base to be a sage green. So let's get into taping that off. Make sure that your paint is fully dry before you start taping, because if it's not, your tape is just going to stick to the paint, and when you take it off, it's going to peel that paint off with it. And once the top is all taped off, I applied 2 coats of this Satin Royal Orchard green paint to the base and the legs. Always make sure to apply thin coats so that your paint doesn't drip. Make sure to wear a mask when you're spray painting. You don't want to be breathing in paint. About an hour after my first coat of green, I apply another to cover up any missed spots and get a deeper overall green color. I always recommend at least 2 coats of your base color. It'll help give your piece much more durability and a much better color. And after the base coat is mostly dry, let's start taking off the tape. And I give the top a light sanding so that it stays super smooth. Once the green is fully dry, I tape off the base so that our top color doesn't spray onto it. For the top, I think this satin almond milk cream color will look great. I've been really liking this cream color and I think it'll match with the green really well. When you're spraying a big flat surface like this, make sure to overlap your sprays so that you get a nice flat color. And don't forget to screw back on the hardware. Just a reminder, this is what the coffee table looked like before and then after. I think it looks much better than before. The table was in pretty bad shape when I bought it, and now it looks almost brand new. This green color is super trendy right now, so I think we'll be able to find a buyer for $250 pretty quickly. Follow and like this video so you don't miss next week's flip.